What grossed you out so much in a relationship that you just left? He bragged about how he actually abused the family dog when he was a teenager. About how he groomed his high school girlfriends just to cheat on them, yet I was still shocked when he did the same thing to me. He's a Reddit user and I hope he sees this. Dated a girl for a while, always seemed really well put together. Nice clothes, hair and makeup. We usually hooked up at my place. Went to her apartment once, the smell when she opened the door should have been enough. There were dirty diapers, overflowing trash cans in every room of the house. There was a super small walkway through the mounds of dirty clothes to the bathroom. And to make it worse, there were used paper plates on top of the mountain of dirty dishes in the sink. She proudly pointed out a moldy dish and said that it was from when she cooked dinner for 2 of our mutual friends 3 months prior. Nope, the hell out of there. I'm late to the party, but there was a guy in my social circle that I had crazy adult tension with. Nothing happened for the longest time. Then one day we bumped into each other in the city, had a few drinks. The tension was unbearable and we went back to his place. An aside, I'd never had that kind of casual ex before. I'm the sort of person that needs to be in a relationship. But the chemistry with him was so intense, he was an exception. So we get to his place, tearing off each other's clothes. He lies me down on the bed, pulls my panties off, and sees my V for the first time. Want to know what he effing said? He breathlessly said, "Oh my God, you look like a little girl. You're perfect." What the F? I didn't know what to say except wait and sort of pushed him away from me. He was confused. I wasn't about to explain. I called a cab home and it was exceptionally awkward. Briefly, dated a girl who never cleaned her adult toys. It was something I missed the first few times we were together due to lighting, but once I did, it was all I could do to not retch. I played it off like the batteries had died in it. Afterwards, I took a peek at the rest of her collection and they were all the same, coated in crustiness. It wasn't a missed spot here or there either. Shit had residue peeling and flaking off in big chunks, looking like the walls in an abandoned house. As far as I could tell, she wasn't an otherwise dirty person either. Her place was well kept and clean, and every time we were together, it was clear she had either just taken a shower or we would take one together as part of our pregame. Then again, I have anosmia and can't smell most things, so maybe she stank to hell and I just couldn't tell. Clean your toys, people. My ex used to say, constantly, that she wanted to be inside my skin. It was her way of saying she desired me, but it was effing weird and off-putting, so I asked her to stop and she couldn't understand what was so uncomfortable about what she was saying. Pretty soon after that, I went on a week-long work trip, and 3 days into it she called and told me the whole time I've been gone she wanted to cheat on me. Then she asked me if she could see other people while I'm gone. I broke up with her pretty much instantaneously. It was 2 separate incidents, but long story short, one night she got super drunk at my sister-in-law's house. After spilling a second glass of red wine on my sister-in-law's white carpet, we opted to move her glass further away from the edge of the table. As soon as we left, she screamed, like full-fledged raged, at me for not defending her. The very next time we were together, she got drunk again and accused me of trying to cheat on her. I've never cheated on anyone, and threw her purse at me. I let things calm down and explained to her that I grew up in a house chock full of domestic violence and that was an absolute line in the sand. And for that reason, I was out. We were in one of many fights and I told him I needed space, so we hadn't talked in maybe a day. I get a text from a random number saying it was his sister and that he was in the hospital after a bad work accident. I ask which hospital, knowing that it is him texting me using a number app, lying about being injured, but you never know, maybe it's real. She tells me the name of the hospital and then sends me a picture of just his legs, which are bruised, but they look like how his legs always looked. And then she says this is the last picture they took of him before he was life-flighted to the hospital. She said he had severe head trauma, a cracked skull, and his back was likely broken in several places. So I called the hospital and asked if they had any patients by his name. They said no. I asked if anyone was life-flighted in the last few hours. They said no. I blocked the number and went to sleep. A few days later, I got a text from another random number claiming to be his brother. He sends me a selfie of him in a hospital gown in an exam room at a doctor's office. He looked totally normal, no cracked skull or broken back. And it was cute because the room was ocean-themed with crabs and fish on the walls. Anyway, the text said he was in the ICU, the crab room, and he had just woken up from a coma. Again, I ask which hospital and the brother refuses to tell me, saying he'll be released within the hour, so there's no point in a visit. I know it makes me sound like a bad person for not believing him, but this man lied to me on several occasions, told me he'd been shot, stabbed, poisoned. Also, his wife passed away, and he told me two very different stories about how she died, which led me to believe he might have had something to do with it. So many red flags, and my mentally ill self was naive and lonely at that time in my life. Granted, this was a breaking point for me, and I dove head first into therapy and never looked back. Way back when I was 21, I started dating this guy, also 21. I took him to a Lollapalooza, and about 6 hours and he had wandered off to the bathrooms and was taking a really long time to pee. He comes out 20 minutes later with this 15-year-old girl who he said just sucked his D, and she has a cute friend, also 15, and he wanted the four of us to hook up. He found his own way home and never heard from me again. He showed me, with excitement, a box of things he'd been collecting from me without my knowledge. This included strands of my hair taped up neatly, bobby pins and hairpins I had in from prom, my fingerprints and saliva sample that he took out of the trash from our forensics class experiments. He thought this was a romantic gesture or something, but it just made me really realize how creepy and obsessive he is. He was also very controlling and got jealous mad at me for hanging out with my sister or spending time on my laptop or with my dog. And he also admitted to me that he stalked my FB interests to pretend he knew and liked what I liked, researching the games I played and music I listened to, so he could bring it up in conversation. Total psycho. I showered at his place after staying over and I asked for a towel. He gave me one which had literal skin flakes on. I asked for a clean one. He asked what I meant. He did not realize that you need to wash towels because they just have water on them, so they clean themselves. My ex would threaten unalive anytime things got tough in our relationship. Grossed me out enough that I just called it a day eventually. Cue the desperate calls hours later from the apparent overdose. She's still alive and kicking somewhere though. He had berated me for something silly and he was still angry. When we got home, he wanted to do it, I wanted to read. He pressured me, I still said no. He got angry and raised his fist to hit me. I just looked at him. He lowered his fist. I left. I haven't seen him since. It's been a decade. I have told this story about a dozen times on Reddit. The first night, I slept at my ex's apartment. I woke up in the middle of the night to an extremely loud scraping noise. It was inside my ear. A roach had crawled into my ear and was scraping against my eardrums with its legs, antennas, whatever. It was the most awful feeling I've ever experienced. I used tweezers to try to get it out, and when I pulled them out after a few times, only half the roach came out. Had to go to the ER to get the rest out and get antibiotics. I had a horrible ear infection for a couple of weeks. The worst part was her saying it happens to my son all the time. Like WTF? Found out she had for wrappers and trash under her bed. Clean your effing house. It has literally haunted me and given me PTSD. When I'm sleeping, if I hear the slightest noise, I jump up and swat uncontrollably around my head ears. My wife was shocked AF the first time I did it when we were dating, but since I told her, she fully understands, LOL. I was on a girls' trip I booked months in advance, a festival. He showed up there and brought one of the other boyfriends with him. I hated it but couldn't do anything but just accept his arrival. Got into a fight with the girls. He did not involve them either with this surprise. Later on, he kept doing this. Internship abroad, he shows up, forcing my roommate to leave. Dinner one-on-one with my dad, he shows up. I moved out because I needed space. He books a trip we cannot cancel. Broke up with him afterwards. He kept showing up at my hometown and even work. It has been 2 years and he texted me congratulations when I got married last year, but all I can feel is anxiety about his control issues. I was dating someone for a month and things were going well. Then there were a couple of weekends where they were just acting weird and distant. Things started to get back on track. They started really pestering me about what I was going to do to celebrate my birthday and didn't listen to me at all when I said that I usually get a dessert and call it a day. He started saying that was unacceptable and that I should celebrate my birthday. He planned out a whole birthday weekend getaway at a nearby location, and I started to get excited because it felt special. Anyway, my birthday was on a Monday. He conveniently called on Thursday to cancel, not to reschedule, because he would be working from Friday to Tuesday, right? He had never worked weekends before, but it was kind of believable because he was a commercial contractor. He sent me texts over the weekend purporting to be working and sent pictures of him working, I guess for proof. I checked the metadata on the pics and they were taken a year earlier LMAO. Yeah, that was the end of that. Why would you push for something that you had no intentions of following through with? I had said many times I was content with the way I celebrated my birthday and it wasn't a big deal. I was confused and just overall disgusted, and I couldn't look at that person the same. She was almost perfect for the first year that we dated, to the point to where I considered marriage with her. Our leases were up around the same time, so we decided to move in together. Not even a month into us living together, she turned into a completely different person. She started instigating fights over very small things, blowing things out of proportion, accusing me of cheating when I'd have to work late. She'd pack her things to leave, but would never actually leave, just like the fight of me trying to talk her down. One day we were at a movie store in the mall together, and I was looking at the back of a movie at the description. She accused me of ogling over the actress that was on the movie case. Stormed out of the movie store, left the mall, left me there with no ride home, and didn't answer her phone. I got the F out of there as soon as I could. After I left, she'd text me paragraphs of apologies begging me to take her back or she'd off herself. Sent me pictures of her cutting herself. I had to have her number blocked. She then started stalking me at work and coming to my friend's house that I was staying at. Ended up getting a restraining order against her. I was dating a girl when I was younger. She seemed nice and she had 2 small cats. One weekend I went to visit her and the cats weren't there. I asked her where they were. She told me they had gotten annoying, and so she put them in the car and drove to an abandoned bush area and left them. I faked an emergency at home. We lived about a 2-hour drive apart, left and broke up with her when I got home. Should have peed on her doormat on the way out to keep other cats away. Junior year in high school, I got a girlfriend for the first time. She was popular, beautiful, and out of my league. She took my virginity and I was crazy about her. The more I got to know her on a personal level, the more I believed that she wasn't that great of a person. Her family was beyond obnoxious, but a small price to pay for a horny teenager. About 6 to 7 months into the relationship, I had dinner with her family at their house. She insisted her older brother tell me this hilarious story. He goes on about how after gym class one day he was left alone with a mentally handicapped student. He tied him up with a volleyball net and left him stranded in the gymnasium screaming. The entire family was howling, laughing, listening to this. I broke up with her a couple days later. Dated a guy who said even the smell of mint would make him gag. Mint anything, ice cream, gum, toothpaste. So yeah, he didn't brush his teeth. Wouldn't hear a bar of it when I said there were non-mint toothpastes on the market. I realized after over 6 months together that he was just generally unhygienic and had a specific hang-up about brushing his teeth. He told me he had memories of his mother holding him down to forcefully brush his teeth as a child because he hates mint so much, but I have to wonder if it was always about the mint or actually the fact that the taste of mint was the most tangible part of that childhood trauma. He convinced me to stay on Skype while I was sleeping. And he'd literally talk to me if I moved an inch thinking I was waking up. What finally got me to stop was when I caught him saying to me in my sleepy days was that if he was next to me in real life, he'd stick his D in me while I'm sleeping and put much emphasis into doing so without my consent because you can't say no, and ride me all night long. I finally got the courage to ghost him after hearing that. I once dated a girl that tortured hamsters. She got arrested when I called police. I didn't even give her the honor of the text. Just called the cops, gave my testimony in court, and continued with my life. Didn't leave immediately when I was told this, but fairly soon after. She told me that she never cleaned up cat barf. She'd simply wait and let the dog eat it. Once the dog got too old, deaf, blind, she would lead the dog to the cat barf. Big nope for me. This thread makes me feel like a rock star for brushing my teeth and taking out the trash LMAO. Maybe I am a rock star? Turns out basic hygiene makes me quite a catch. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Also check out our other videos and have an amazing day.